Hey biology. So this video I'm making it on December 3rd. So December 3rd. But it might be used in the future for other things as well. But this is going to be for this assignment here. Meiosis reading and simple coloring. So you want to find this assignment into Notability, or perhaps you have a paper copy. The paper copy will just say Meiosis over at the top. And I just want to kind of go through it real quickly with you in case you were absent or you were mentally not present and you need to finish this assignment. All right, so here we go. Here's the reading part of it, guys. So the assignment starts like this. So if you have a paper copy, it should look like this. Otherwise, in Notability, again, it's called Meiosis Simple. Excuse me. Meiosis Reading and Simple Coloring. Okay. Now, we did a little bit of highlighting in class for this. So meiosis here is a special form of cell division. Some people pronounce it meiosis. Some people pronounce it meiosis. There's no T in there. So that's how you can tell it's not mitosis like we did before. All right, so it's a special form of cell division, and it happens only in sexually reproducing organisms. So we're not going to do this unless we're reproducing sexually with eggs and sperm, okay? So anytime your body has to make new cells for your hair or your blood or your skin, that's not this. Okay, we did that with mitosis. Meiosis here is only for making egg and sperm cells. Okay, now in meiosis, a cell goes through 2 cell divisions. So that's different than mitosis that we learned before. And we're going to make 4 daughter cells at the end, not 2. And something that's really important that you're going to see in the next few days, daughter cells are not identical to each other in the end. They are going to be different. They are also different from the parent. The very most important information, these daughter cells have half of the amount of DNA as a parent cell. So if the parent cell had 10 chromosomes, the daughter cells will only have 5. Okay, so we're going to have half of the DNA. Now, the reason that this is important, that the daughter cells have half the amount, is this. Okay, so let's say you are a happy human, and you as a happy human, humans all have 46 chromosomes. 46 different pieces of DNA. And you meet another happy human that you decide you want to start a family with. And this happy human also has 46 chromosomes. Well, if we took an egg and a sperm from these two and put them together, that baby would have 46 plus 46. That would be 92 chromosomes, and that's not a human anymore. That's a problem. So what we're going to do is one of these happy humans here will be making sperm cells, and the sperm cells will only have half of the chromosomes. Okay, so only 23. This other happy human will make an egg cell. Egg cells are a lot bigger than sperm cells because they have to have food to support the baby. Sperm cells just need to swim and then they're done. Okay, so the one happy human will make egg cells with half the chromosomes. The other happy human will make sperm cells with half the chromosomes. And when we put them together, and that's called fertilization, when an egg and a sperm come together, this new baby human that we make has half of mom's chromosomes, half of dad's, so 23 plus 23. This baby will then have 46 chromosomes. And it'll be half from mom and half from dad. So the baby will look a little bit different from mom, a little bit different from dad, but have some traits from each parent. Okay, so meiosis is all about how do we make these egg and sperm cells so when they come together, the baby has the right amount of DNA, the right amount of chromosomes. That's the point of this. Okay, so we want to look at the steps of this, and then the next thing we'll kind of look at is genetics. How do these things work together? And if mom has blue eyes and dad has brown eyes, what color eyes will the baby have? That's kind of what we're going to do as a next step. But we got to learn how these egg and sperm are made first. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I'm going to highlight a few things that maybe you want to highlight as well, because they may help you with some other assignments that you have in this chapter. So, in sexual reproduction, two parents produce an offspring. I just drew that. Each parent contributes half its genetic info in the form of a gamete. So this word gamete is just a fancy term for eggs and sperm. So if you don't want to keep saying the words egg and sperm, especially in front of your parents, gamete is a synonym. It means the same thing. Okay? Plant cells also make eggs, but instead of sperm, we call it pollen. So the yellow pollen that plants have that some of you are allergic to, it's actually plant sperm. Okay? So gametes are pollen in eggs and sperm. So we use the word gamete for that. During fertilization, so that's when the egg and the sperm come together, they fuse or melt together, and they make one cell with a full set of genetic info, and then that cell will grow and divide, it'll become an embryo, and eventually be born and fully grow into a baby. Okay, so that's all with the picture I just drew. That's kind of the words to go with the picture. Okay. In your cells, we talked about this word before, homologous chromosomes. So when we draw on the next page, the homologous chromosomes are going to be the same size with the same kind of info. And regular normal cells are diploid. So they have a pair of chromosomes that are the same size. So di means two. But in meiosis, we're going to split those up to make haploid cells. And we're going to draw this out. It'll make a lot more sense in the picture. Okay. Now, there's two steps to meiosis. We just call it meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. So we divide it, and then we divide it a second time. And it has the same steps as mitosis. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, okay? And then we do the whole thing again. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. We're not going to focus on what specifically happens in each one. It's pretty similar to mitosis. What we want to focus on is what we highlighted mostly in that first paragraph. And now we're going to draw out the chromosomes to make them, to kind of tell the difference between these words diploid and haploid. So on the coloring sheet, I moved the directions to the top of mine because it makes a little more sense for when I'm doing this presentation. And I added some words. Now I'm going to kind of circle and highlight these words when we get to it. You should add these words to your picture as well when we talk about them. Okay? So what we're going to do is kind of go through these coloring things step by step. So the first one here says, color one of the chromosomes of the long homologous pair blue, and then color the second chromosome of the long homologous pair sky blue. So I need two different colors of blue. And so on your iPad or screen or whatever, you need to figure out, how do I get two different colors of blue? So here we go. So I am going to color one pair of these. Whoops, that's too fat. Hold on. That's better. So I'm going to color one of these chromosomes one shade of blue, and it has a copy. So the copy is right next to it. And I need a different kind of blue for the other long chromosome. All right. Now these guys, all these blue chromosomes here, so you have a light blue and a dark blue, they're the same size. They're going to have the same kind of information. Those are homologous pairs. And let's pretend this cell is in your body. The light blue color came from one parent. So let's say mom gave you a light blue, and your dad gave you the dark blue. And maybe it has information for your eye color and your hair color, along with lots of other information too. Okay, so we have two different pieces of information for eye color and hair color, and we have a copy next to it. So that's a homologous pair of chromosomes. We're going to do the same thing with these little guys, but we're going to use the color green instead. So one green chromosome and a copy. And then we have the chromosome from the other parent and the copy. Okay, and this is also a homologous pair as well. Okay, now when these guys divide, it's really important that we color them correctly in the next step, because they might not divide in the way you think they're going to. Okay, so let's divide the blue ones first. These light blue chromosomes here, the light blue one and its copy are going to stay together. So in one cell, we've got light blue and its copy. The other cell will have dark blue and its copy. Okay, now by doing this, these cells here on the second level, now they don't have all the information. This cell on the left does not have the dark blue information. Over here on the right, this cell is missing the light blue information. So these cells are now haploid. They only have half of the information that we started with. Okay? So that's super important. That's different than mitosis. Okay? That after we divide these once, all of a sudden the cells only have half of the info. The same is going to be true for the green too. So one cell will get all of the dark green information. The other cell will get all the light green information. Okay. And then we have to divide these again because we have to get the copies apart. So down here, we're going to split apart our light green copies. We will split apart the light blue copies. And we will do the same thing for the green. Our dark green copies will split, and our light green, or I'm sorry, our dark blue over here will split. All right. So these bottom cells are still haploid cells. They still only have half the info. We just took the copies apart, and the copies don't give you any new information, so we don't worry too much about those. Okay, and at the bottom here, we have 4 daughter cells. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the most important coloring part, is to show that these 4 daughter cells at the bottom, they are not identical to each other, right? Some of them have dark blue info, some of them have light blue info. They are not the same. And they're very different from this guy up here we started with that had 4 different kinds of information. 4 different colors. Okay. So we have taken care of coloring our chromosomes. Okay. Now I'm going to skip down to number 8 right now. Before I color the whole cells, I'm going to color the centrioles brown. Okay. So I'm going to do that with, let's see, I'm going to get a crayon here. Okay, so the centrioles, we use these in mitosis also. These are used to pull apart the chromosomes. So in each one of my pictures, I'm going to color the centrioles brown. You should do this as well. They're very important for cell division, whether it's mitosis or meiosis. They are going to pull the chromosomes to the center for metaphase, so they're organized, and then they will pull them apart for anaphase in the correct way so we have the right information in each cell. So centrioles here are pretty important. Okay, and again, I am not going to do a fantastic artistic job. You can do a great job or a messy job. You will get the same points either way. All right, so now we are going to kind of color code our cells. We're going to make our original cell orange. So I'm going to grab an orange crayon here and just kind of color in some orange here. So this is our parent cell. So the directions say original cell. Most textbooks and worksheets will call this the parent cell. Okay, so I labeled mine parent cell, and it is diploid because it has 2 long chromosomes and 2 short chromosomes that are slightly different from each other. So that's diploid. My middle cells here after my first division, these are going to be colored violets or purple. And we've already labeled these as haploid cells. And they're not really daughter cells yet because they're not done. They're only halfway through the cycle. And so we're just going to keep going. This is just kind of a snapshot of what it looks like when it's half done. So they don't really have their own label yet, like parent or daughter. They're like halfway done cells, I guess. And the bottom ones are daughter cells. The directions say color them red. Okay, so here's red. Here's some red. If you can hear my son yelling in the background, I apologize. He's playing Xbox, I think, even though he's not supposed to. Okay, I'm sorry. He's not playing Xbox. He's playing Pin Shuffle. I don't even know what that is. Whatever. Okay. Distance learning is fun. I cannot wait to see all your happy faces back in the classroom eventually. All right. So yes, this is a fairly messy thing, but that's fine. I'm not grading on how beautiful your artwork is. Although if you have the skills to make beautiful artwork, I love seeing it because I don't have that skill, obviously. All right. So if I go back to my directions here, we colored all the chromosomes. We colored the original cell orange. After meiosis 1, they're violet. My daughter cells after meiosis 2 are red. And I have labeled everything as diploid or haploid. So I've taken care of all of my directions. Now, I did add maybe a few other things in here that I want to point out. So make sure you have all these extra words and stuff. So we got our homologous pairs labeled. This is our parent cell that's diploid. We have our centrioles in there. After meiosis 1, you see that label there. We have 2 haploid cells with half the information. And then at the bottom, after meiosis 2, we have 4 daughter cells. Again, they are haploid with half the info. And these are our gametes. Woo. So we have made either egg, sperm, or pollen cells. And lots of times what I will do, I will take and I will actually make a tail on these cells when I'm all done coloring them as a flagella to remind myself that, hey, these are like sperm cells. Now, if I was a girl, which I am, they would be egg cells. Or if I'm a plant, they might be pollen. But the flagella tail is really easy to add and kind of remind myself like, oh yeah, we're talking about reproductive cells or gametes or sex cells. Okay, so that's something you can add to your picture, but you don't have to. Just to remind yourself that these cells at the end that we made, they're only used for reproduction. I will not use these cells to fix parts of my body or to grow more hair or to build muscles. These cells are only used as egg, sperm, or pollen. So it's a very small part of your body, but it's a very important part of your body. Okay? So if you have to rewind or pause any parts of this video to finish handing this in, please do so. But we did it all together. If your paper looks like mine, you're ready to hand in. So the to-do list I gave my students after we finished this was They have to finish the coloring sheet and hand it in, go back and finish today's warm-up if needed. And there's some videos in that folder that you should watch as well. Okay. In class, right after we did this activity, we did one more thing. We watched Meiosis pop bead video. It's a YouTube link. I have that link in Schoology, and it is me doing a lab demo before my students do the same activity. So I taped it last year. I would love if you guys were in my classroom and could do this activity, but it just doesn't work for distance learning or if you're absent. But if you watch the video, you'll get kind of the same idea. And the video will introduce you to something called crossing over, which is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay. So if you missed class on the day we did all this stuff, this is what you need to catch up on. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day, guys.